Hello and welcome to Prince's Golf Club and this video on 7 etiquette mistakes. Now in the rules of golf, the word etiquette actually doesn't exist anymore. Instead, it's covered off by the standards of player conduct, which is rule 1.2 in the book. And it's all of those things that ensure that you're a joy for other people to play with as you go around the course, but also that you're keeping the course in as good a condition as you possibly can. Right, let's head out now and take a look at the 7 etiquette mistakes that are well worth avoiding. This one is about where to stand and where not to stand when someone's about to hit a golf shot. Now, obviously, you don't want to get too close to anyone for obvious reasons, but then beyond that, there are certain places that you can stand that could be slightly distracting for golfers. Jez, what would your advice be here for people?
Well, having played for a number of years, I think most people on the tee would prefer you to stand over here where you're in there, as long as you're not doing anything distracting, where they can sort of see you. I think it's when there's people lurking around behind you that people get a little bit edgy about it. I don't know why. Maybe they think they're not quite sure how close you're standing and they worry about hitting you. But I think people would much prefer to see you in their eye line than not, as long as you're not doing anything rummaging around in your bag for another ball or zipping something up and doing anything distracting.
Yeah, the one thing I would add to this is that if you're playing into the sun and your sort of visibility down the fairway feels like it's a bit restricted, it can be useful to have someone sort of slightly more behind to be able to catch the flies of the ball a bit better. Yeah. But on the whole, we'd say, you know, for right-handers to the right of the golfer, left-handers to the left of the golfer is probably the best option when it comes to standing in the right place. And then once you're stood there, Jez.
So obviously standing in this spot, you're in their eye line, so make sure you're not doing anything distracting, so don't rummage around for another ball or do a zip up. Wait for the player to play, and then it's your turn to do whatever you want to do then. Just give them a bit of time to play their shot and then do whatever you need to do. Yeah,
it's about awareness ultimately. A lot of this video is that, just having that awareness for other people, making sure that you're not doing anything that's going to potentially distract them from the shot they're about to hit. Jez, do you mind?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, this one is about shadows. So you might not think it's a big deal, but actually if you're trying to play a golf shot and somebody else's shadow is in the way, it can be quite distracting, can't it?
It can be distracting, and people might think, well, golfers are quite fragile, aren't they? And they should be able to cope with that. But this is a sport where you're starting the movement. It's not a reactive sport. And anything that distracts your eye line just as you're about to take the club back or take the putter away can really throw you, can't it? We all know that.
It can. I think on the green, if you're trying to putt through shadows, it can be quite hard to pick your line. And then in other areas of the golf course, if you've got your shadow there and then the head of Jez's putter here just moves slightly, that can really put you off. And it's just those small things, like so many in this video, it's just having that modicum of awareness for your surroundings, for other people, just to make sure that you're not doing anything that's putting them off. Okay, so this one is about the condition of the golf course. Jez, what do people need to know?
Well, I mean, there is an obligation at the very start of the rules to care for the course. It's rule 1.2, standards of player conduct. And part of caring for the course is to repair pitch marks and repair divots, replace and repair divots. And we have all seen pictures on social media of greens littered with pitch marks, haven't we? I think some clubs have even gone out and placed a ball at the point of every pitch mark just to try and emphasise the point.
Yes.
And it's quite a scary picture when you see it like that, badly repaired pitch mark. So a lot of clubs I've been at have a big, enormous pitch mark repair man called MORT, which stands for Make One, Repair Two, which isn't a bad philosophy.
Yes, so even if you have, there's a pitch mark here that my ball has made when it landed on the green, I'll repair this. But if I also see another one nearby, I'll also repair that as well. It's just a good practice to get into, because if you don't, you will be leaving these little marks around the place that will just make the hole feel a little bit untidy. And over time, if people keep doing that, it creates that kind of buzz of discontentment about the condition of the golf course, when actually the greenkeepers and the people working at the golf club, it's not their fault.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be particularly careful on short par threes or holes where a lot of people are playing a short approach shot, a full wedge shot in. So those are the holes to really look out for. And obviously, time of year when conditions are soft, you've really got to be on the ball with the pitch mark repair scenario. Yeah,
and also let's not forget divots as well. You don't get relief from divots, as you know, when playing golf. So if you've made a divot and it's clearly visible and you've got it there, take the time to put it back, it makes all the difference, doesn't it?
It does. The last thing you want is to end up in a divot knowing that you're going to have to play it.
Yes. So I'm going to repair this pitch mark here, and then I'm going to hit my putt.
I'll see that.
Okay, so when it comes to etiquette, this one is probably up there with the most important things you need to know, and that's about the pace of play. If golfers have one thing in common, it's that they don't enjoy playing, really slow rounds of golf where the pace of play grinds to a halt. Jez, what can people do to make sure that doesn't happen? Well,
there's a very long list of things you can do, which we've investigated before, but we don't want to go into all of those here. If I was to pick out one that particularly bugs me, maybe it would be the group gets to the next tee, the person who should be playing marks his scorecard, works out what everyone else took on that hole before actually getting up and hitting their shot, and that just slows the whole thing down. There's plenty of time after that person's played their shot to then sort the scorecard out.
Yeah, and then there's things like ambling around the golf course. I mean, no one's asking you to race around the course, but just be aware of those around you. And then I think the one that bugs me is when people watch a playing partner hit, and then they start figuring out how far they've got to go to the flag, what the wind's doing, etc., etc. And it's small things like that. It might not seem like a big deal, but the more it happens, the slower play becomes, and actually that causes a knock-on effect. So just be aware, try and keep the pace of play up, and it shouldn't be a problem. Jez.
What? Was that a bit... Quite a loud zip, isn't it? Sorry about that.
So, point here is about making noises when somebody else is about to play, whether that's a zip or clanging coins or keys or teas in your pocket, something like that. Be very careful.
Very careful. It's people like to concentrate on their shot as much as possible. It's only a few seconds, and I don't think it's too unreasonable to be as quiet as possible while they're doing so.
Yes, it would be. I can understand the point that people are making when they're thinking, well, golfers can be a bit precious in this scenario. But it would be different if there was a constant amount of noise in the background, but so often there isn't, and then a sudden noise can put you off. Make no mistake, Jez, if you did that when we were playing, I think I'd probably blame you if I hit a poor shot in that scenario.
Any excuse?
Okay, Jez, this one is another one about the condition of the golf course, in particular bunkers, which I appreciate during COVID times, this is tricky. What's the advice, do you think, for people here?
Well, I think that the advice is to try and leave the bunker in the kind of condition you'd hope to find it in. So although we haven't got rakes, I think some clubs are issuing players with portable rakes, aren't they? But not many. It's just to do the best you can do with what you've got at your disposal. And for me, I think smoothing with the feet is usually the best option in most kinds of sand.
Which I think is probably what's happened here. And I have to say, in the current climate that we're playing in at the moment, I'm pretty happy with this lie here. Whoever has been here before me has done their best to make sure that anyone coming after is going to get a fairly good lie. I've got a fairly good lie and no real excuses now.
You haven't, so I'll give you 12 feet would be a good shot still from here. Slight downslope.
Sit. Well, come back down the slope.
Might do. No, in the summer it might have done, but that's not a bad effort from there, is it? And that's obviously so much easier to play than if that had been in a filthy great foot markers you've got just behind you there.
Exactly, so now I need to do my part. Okay, so another one that relates to pace of play. Jez, what are we talking about here?
We're basically talking about slower groups letting faster groups through. So you're slow for whatever reason that day, you're paired with a couple of guys who aren't the quickest, or one of you's having a complete howler, it's backing up behind you, just let the group behind through, they'll be on their way and happy, you'll feel less pressured, and it's just a better situation for everybody. Okay, so really simple advice, if you're in a slower group, let the faster group through. So there you have it, that's our look at 7 etiquette mistakes. As we said quite a lot in this video, it's all just about having an awareness for what you're doing and for the players around you, just to make sure that you're a joy to play with and that you're keeping the golf course in as good a condition as you possibly can. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.